Welcome to the podcast. I'm Steve Hill, and today I'm here with Kalia Washington. Kalia, honey, I'm sorry you got married. I know, I can't believe I did that to you.
So disrespectful.
I apologize for that. So anyway, we're going to talk about Halloween today.
Yes.
Because Halloween is coming up, and sometimes I get the question about, should I let my kids go trick-or-treating, and does Halloween have pagan demonic ties and kind of that kind of a thought. So I thought we would kind of talk about that. And Kalia, I thought I would ask first, what was your experience with Halloween growing up? Then I'll tell mine. Did you do Halloween and trick-or-treating and dressing up and yeah?
So I did not celebrate Halloween growing up. My mom was avidly against it. My dad was a little more laxed about it. But he listened to her. So, good man. So me and my siblings did not go trick-or-treating. We did not do the costuming. She told us from a very young age that Halloween was Satan's birthday.
Okay.
So when kids would ask why I wasn't dressed up at like a school event, I would say, oh, it's the devil's birthday. Don't you know? So yeah, we didn't celebrate it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how did other students respond to you when you didn't? Like, there's probably a lot of cultural peer pressure when it comes to Halloween, right?
There is, yeah.
So how did that go for you?
Yeah, kids thought I was weird or that my parents sucked because I couldn't dress up with them. So yeah, they were not super accepting. They just thought I was kind of lame because I couldn't costume with them.
So backtrack from that a little bit. So if you were to have a costume, what would you want?
Probably the Mad Hatter. I really liked Alice in Wonderland growing up, and the Mad Hatter was my favorite character.
I thought you'd be a sumo wrestler.
Oh, no.
Oh, I saw you in that costume a while back for sumo wrestling. Okay, all right. So I grew up, my parents took me, I guess I went trick-or-treating a few times. I remember being a pirate, and that's about all I remember. I suppose I might have been other stuff. And I grew up in a real small rural place, so we didn't have very many houses to go to, like 10 or something, or 25, and we would just get a bunch of candy. That was basically it. And there was we never had jack-o'-lanterns around our house, or we never decorated our house for Halloween. There was nothing like that.
Yeah, we did give candy to people who would come to the door. But then somebody came to the door dressed as Satan, so my mom put an end to the candy giving.
Oh, okay.
And then she just started putting signs on our door that said no trick-or-treating.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You know, okay, good. Hey, I was doing some reading on the background of Halloween, and Halloween is an abbreviation for All Hallows Eve, and somehow along the way we got this word Halloween, but it's a Celtic thing, a Druid thing, probably before the time of Christ in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found that very interesting. And kind of the belief, the origin of this Halloween thing is that on All Hallows Eve, it was a time for the dead. And pagans, I guess by pagans I mean people who didn't believe in one God. They're not monotheists at all. They're animists. They believe that there's evil spirits in the trees, or evil spirits in animals, or spirits everywhere, and they're afraid of them.
Yeah.
And they believe that on October 31st, that dead spirits would come up, and there would be ghosts that would scare people, or there would be a time of reincarnation. So a little bit, Halloween is tied to Hinduism in my reading. So what I think is happening a couple thousand years ago is that on All Hallows Eve, they would do things to try to placate these evil spirits. And some of it was they would go to houses and collect food to give to ghosts or evil spirits, or they would collect other items to try to appease these, I don't want to say zombies because I'm not sure what a zombie is, but they would try to appease these evil spirits that would come out for that day.
Yeah.
And the other thing about it I found very interesting is they wore masks because they believed that they might become reincarnated as a certain kind of animal.
Wow.
So they wanted to replicate that or try to fend that off a little bit. So there was this this whole mask wearing thing had some certain demonic origins to it from the very beginning.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to, I think that's pretty accurate, actually. And the jack-o'-lantern, I found out, came from the belief that the devil, a person named Jack, Jack, how about that, was confronted by the devil, and he went up a tree, and, or he found the devil up a tree, and he carved a cross in it, and the devil couldn't get out of the tree. So there's all kinds of superstition around this holiday.
Yeah.
Right? I also found out that no one in America celebrated until about 1920. And then some company commercialized it and started selling stuff. And in 1923, New York City made it an official holiday.
Wow.
So if you'd have bought stock in that company, you might have made a lot of money because they started selling costumes and decorations and special candy for Halloween.
Wow.
How's that?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And I think even today, Halloween is the most celebrated thing for Satanists. Witches, Satanists, Wiccans. Halloween is their event.
Yeah.
Their event. Right?
Yeah.
So I do think it's definitely true that Halloween has strong demonic ties and strong paganistic thinking and origins behind it. There's more to this. It was called Samhain in the Celtic language, which they would have fires on top of hills, and they would dance around the fires to keep these evil spirits from entering their animals and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely this pagan orientation to it. So the question comes then, should Christians participate in this? So what are some of your thoughts about that? I mean,
yeah, so I think that Halloween can be used and has been used as a point of outreach for a lot of churches. I know a lot of churches put on productions or do some kind of a harvest festival, or just invite people to be with them on that day, which maybe is safer than sending your kids out to strangers' houses, or
right.
being at home. So I see the value in us not necessarily celebrating the day, but doing something on the day to maybe draw people's attention back to Christ. I still don't celebrate Halloween. I carry that with me from my childhood just because I know of all of the demonic origins and ties to it. So I feel like it's a conviction thing, honestly. I feel convicted in not celebrating it. And I definitely think that there needs to be a line if you do celebrate it, which we kind of talked about, maybe not letting your child dress up like a demon or watching horror films on the day. I do think that there needs to be a blunt line. If this is for fun, then let's keep it fun, instead of entertaining things that we shouldn't be entertaining.
Yeah, when my kids were really little, 3, 4, 5, 6, we dressed them up probably like Superman or Spider-Man, and they went a few places. And then we began to feel very uncomfortable with that because we know the origins of this. And secondly, for Mary and I, we knew people firsthand who had been former Satanists. And so we have this perspective that we know a little bit more of what goes on that day, and so we don't want to be even connected to it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if it can be redeemed and used in a way that we can talk about the Lord, then I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what that looks like. Some churches do harvest, harvest celebrations, right?
Yeah.
Or a big barn party of some kind, and those kinds of things. So I think there can be value in that. I think in some ways that if Christians can take holidays in the culture that are not Christ-centered and redeem them in some way, like Christmas probably was, or Easter in some respects. That's kind of a stretch. I think Easter is always a Christian thing, the resurrection of Christ.
Yeah.
But if we can redeem those special days, then I think there's value in that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think redeeming things we should be doing as Christians. I don't think that we should allow any day to stop us in our mission for pursuing and sharing the gospel. I will say I hear like the Halloween, Christmas, Easter argument a lot because people will say like Christmas has pagan origins too. So why do we celebrate Christmas? And to that, I would say, well, Christmas is very obviously about Christ. Even if you're not a Christian, people know that Christians are celebrating the birth of Christ in that season. And it's also a season of giving. And you don't really see the attachment to the origin anymore. Similar to Easter, most people know that we're celebrating the resurrection of Christ on that day, but with Halloween it is very still attached to its intentions, which was to be demonic. So that's what I would say to that. But I do think that we can redeem days. I just think we need to be careful about how we do it and make sure we're not being influenced by culture, but that we're being the ones who are influencing culture.
Sure, and sometimes wrapped up with Halloween are things like Ouija boards or other things that are clearly outside of what a Christian should be involved in.
Right.
And in the Old Testament, getting mixed up with what was called divination or mysticism, I would say, or trying to communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
That was an offense that was somebody be stoned for.
Yeah.
It was a death penalty, right? So you got to go, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And in the New Testament, there are a couple passages that talk about don't do anything, don't be involved with divination.
Yeah.
Which I think, as Christians, we need to take those things seriously.
Yeah.
Seems like to me there are two extremes. One is that there's no spiritual stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're crazy.
There's no. And the other part is that I see evil spirits and demons under every trash can. There's two extremes there.
Yeah.
And C.S. Lewis once wrote, the devil is happy about that, that we have an imbalanced view. And I think it's healthy to say, yeah, there is a demonic world. We need to be aware of that. And there are spiritual forces at play.
Right.
And we need to be cognizant of that and respond Christianly to those things. So So I also contemplate those things when I think of Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the history of all this, too, the church at one point, specifically the Catholic Church, said, you know what, we don't like this Halloween thing, so I'm going to stretch the history here a little bit and put in my own words. Let's invent a new day called All Saints' Day on November 1st, which was a day to commemorate all the saints. And by saints, they meant Christians that had died, especially martyrs, people who had been martyred for their faith. And then they took it a step further and came up with All Souls' Day on November 2nd. Have you heard of All Souls' Day? So All Souls' Day is very much celebrating the Catholic Church because it's the day that you pray to get people out of purgatory.
Oh.
So it's a penance thing. So the blood of Christ is not enough to get you into heaven.
Yeah.
You're going to go to this holding tank, and you better hope your grandkids pray for you and give enough money, do good things to get you out of there, right? So, so that was called All Souls Day. So part of that's a reaction to this Halloween thing, but I think it's the wrong reaction. It's unbiblical.
Right.
The purgatory thing, because you're going to be purged from your sins.
Yeah.
That means the cross of Christ wasn't good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an extreme reaction to the All Hallows Eve that we don't want to go in that direction either.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is a topic that parents at this time of the year talk about, and they sometimes contemplate, should I let my kids go to Halloween stuff? And I think it's a matter of conscience. People need to decide and have informed decisions.
Right.
And at least my decision, Marius and I's work, come to the conclusion that, you know what, we're just uncomfortable with that whole scene.
Yeah.
But early on we said, if they want to dress up as Spider-Man or something like that, we can kind of live with that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to engage in the whole decorating for Halloween, having tombstones in my front yard, and jack-o'-lanterns, which I think is very much a demonic symbol when you look at the origins of it. I just don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think our lives are short enough. Why spend an entire season thinking about and decorating your house to represent death. I don't think death is celebratory as a Christian. I mean, obviously it is because of eternal life, but dying in and of itself is not something we celebrate. So, yeah, strange.
Yeah, I think we spend like $8 billion a year on Halloween decorations.
Yeah,
in the
that's
States I read.
insane.
So it's just an enormous amount of money.
It's insane, yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, Kalia, thanks for talking with me today
Yeah.
about Halloween and just our different experiences growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully those who are listening on a podcast will reflect and make their own decisions of conscious decisions about Halloween.
Right.
Okay. Hey, I'm Steve, and grace and peace be with you. And thanks for listening and watching to our podcast today.
Bye.